The man starts by showing us a pavilion inside of Merhum. A man begins speaking, and this is the living Buddha named Master Musan, asking someone what they want to know about young Yo. The person says, "That's right," and they're compiling materials to document his history. Musan laughs, saying that young Yo, the radiant martial sovereign, was a very benevolent and upright man, and the Buddha must have sent him down to them. The historian says that it's just as she thought, wondering what he was like in his everyday life. Musan starts shaking, talking about his daily behavior and his appearance, but says that he can't do this anymore, and he looks pissed. The historian asks what he's talking about and why he's swearing as a Buddhist. It then jumps. The historian gets kicked out of the Pyong clan by the supreme elder of the clan named Pyong Dojuk, saying that he's so damn tired of hearing Yonyo's name, it's always something to do with him. He wonders why the historian is even here, telling his men to bring a bag of salt, scatter around to keep the ghost out. We learn more about Yongyo, the radiant martial sovereign. He's a legendary figure who ended the era of chaos, a true gentleman and a great man, and a renowned chivalrous warrior often spoken of across the world. Some call him the greatest of all time, and others the greatest chivalrous warrior, but she doesn't know why every single person avoids talking about him. And as a historian, this is her duty to document even the hidden sides of history. Today, she may finally learn the reason why. As she heads to the Beggar sect, she talks to the divine Mad Dog, who laughs at her for getting chased away from Shaolin and the Pyong clan. The historian says that everybody's responses were pretty much the same wherever she went. The moment she brought up Yojo's name, they'd all just treat her harshly. The Mad Dog says, of course they would react like that. She asks what he means, and he starts to explain it. We get a flashback to 100 years ago in Guangdong, specifically at the Y clan, and that he was the absolute worst kind of person. And as we see him laying on his bed, he says he wants to become the strongest, and this was when he was only 12 years old. There was once a boy who dreamed of becoming the greatest under the heavens. Born into a martial clan, he was raised learning the chivalrous of warriors. Because of that, he already knew the quickest path to the top, and that path was through nothing but relentless effort. And he says no matter how gifted he is, nothing comes without effort, and effort is the only true way forward. But even though he knew all this, there was one small issue. He looks out the window seeing the sun already setting, saying that it's too late to begin. He sits up, taking another look outside, and then starts to just flip over, laying back on his side. He says it sure is a shame, as today was supposed to be the day that he laid the foundations to become the best. And then he says he'll sleep soundly tonight and train tomorrow. Someone enters his room and starts approaching him, saying to get up. Yo-Yo doesn't react, and the guy yells, saying to wake the hell up. Yo-Yo does, asking what brings him here, and this is his father, the patriarch of the clan, and the righteous chivalrous swordsman named Jen, asking if he knows what time it is. Yo-Yo says he saw the sun, and Jen asks why he's still laying in bed. He says that's because the sun is going down. Jen asks how long he's been holed up in his room. Yo-Yo says maybe 2 or 3 days, but he thinks it's 2. His father says it's been 4 days already, and he's been rolling around wrapped in a blanket for 4 damn days, saying surely his back hurts from laying that long. Even a bear would flip over from sweat after 3 days. Yo-Yo laughs, saying that's why he gets up every now and again, and he doesn't need to worry. His father gets furious, and Yono realizes this and tells him that he actually tried to train. His father asks how it went, but Yono says every time he opened his eyes, the sun was already setting. His father asks why that matters, and Yo-Yo says, when the sun sets, you have to sleep. That way, he can get up early the next day to train. His father flips his entire bed, picking it up, and starts screaming at him, saying he's going to fix that rotten attitude of his today, and then he's going to straighten him out for good. Back inside of Jen's office, he's frustrated. The administrator, named Jo Bong, asks if this is about the second young master again. Jen asks who else he can be worried about, and Bong tells him not to worry, as he'll mature soon enough. Jen sighs, saying it's all his fault. He left on a martial dual pilgrimage the year that Yono turned 2, leaving his wife, Han Song-ya, his older son, Sanho, Yono, and then their unborn child, Saren. At that time, he thought the journey was only going to be at most 2 years. However, he got caught up in various incidents, and it wasn't until a whole 8 years later that he was able to return. And the entire clan greeted him. And though he earned the honorary title of righteous chivalrous swordsman, what he lost was far too great. When he returned, his once gentle wife had become fiercer than a tiger, saying that 8 years is too damn long. And his beloved son, whom he thought would not be a problem at all, had turned into a damn sloth. Jen exhales full of stress, and Bong tells him not to worry, as there should be a way. Jen asks how, and Bong says surely he hasn't forgotten that he'll be returning soon. Jen asks what he's talking about, and then realizes that he's talking about his son. Bong says after 3 years, he'll finally be back from the academy. Jen laughs, saying that Yonyo is in for it, because there's only one person he is actually truly scared of. Back to Yonyo getting the chills. He turns, wondering what it is, only to see that it's his brother, Sanho, glaring down at him. Sanho asks how long he's been asleep,
and Yono just wonders how long he's been there. Sanho says he asks first, and Yono realizes that he can't lie, but is very nervous. And Sanho just continues glaring at him. Yono says that it's not what he thinks. He trained early this morning, and he trained really hard, and he just took a nap because he got tired. He just wonders when his brother got back, though. Sanho asks if he really trained, and Yono says yes. His brother then tells him to use a technique to cut that candle in two, and he wants to see how much he's improved over these 3 years. Yo gets up and holds his sword, and Sanho tells him to go ahead, wondering what he's waiting for. Yo says that they are indoors and it can be dangerous, but Sanho says that he'll take care of all that. He just needs to show him what he's got. Yo says okay and decides to do it, saying here goes nothing. He starts twirling his sword and points it forward at the candle. He waits a second before dashing forward, doing a whole bunch of sword techniques as he flies across the room. And his brother looks surprised, as Yono uses a technique called the Soaring Dragon. He swings, landing way past the candle. He turns, wondering if he did it, only to see that he didn't hurt it at all. And he says he can't believe he did all that for nothing. And Sanham says it's been 3 whole years, and that is enough for him to master a sword technique and to move on to another one. But in his case, it seems that he's gotten way worse than he was 3 years ago, and he leaves. Later that night at dinner, we see them all sitting around a table. Yonyo says he's going to get indigestion, and he's sure of it. Jen asks how the academy is, and Sanho says it's fine. His father wonders if he's had any difficulties, and he says that if there were no hardships, it wouldn't be training, and he believes they are essential in order to overcome himself. Jen, proud of his son, says that he suffered a lot in his absence. But Sanho says that he's the one who had it harder being away for so long. Jen asks if he's had any other issues, and Sanho puts his chopsticks down, saying that there is a pretty big one. His mother, Sona, wonders what's wrong, and he says that it's about Yonyo. They all kind of look worried, and Yonyo just wonders what the hell he did. Sanho continues saying that he thinks that they need to bring him to his martial academy. Yo says hell no, and back to the mad dog telling the story. He said that even Musan and Dojuk grind their teeth at the mere mention of Yonyo's name. But this was the very start of the story of when his great history began. As someone who stood above even the heavens and the martial realm, as he was completely untouchable, and nobody could have imagined that this lazy boy would have turned into somebody so strong. Back to Yono, he says he wants to rest a bit before they go, even though they just left house. Yonyo looks back at his family and his little sister Sarian, who is bawling her eyes out, telling him not to go. But his dad tells him to come back a man, and his mother just tells him to take care of himself. And they knew they couldn't stop him, even though they were a little sad to see him go. He tells him not to cry, as he'll be back. Waves him goodbye while Jen laughs, and Sanho barks at him for laughing as they're heading out. The journey was pretty smooth. At least that was the pace only for Sanho, because Yonyo was dead tired. He asked him if they're almost there, and Sanho tells him there's 10 more days left. Yonyo asks if he heard that right, and Sanho says they would have gotten there in 5 if he knew how to ride a horse. Yo says he told him he's never ridden one before, and his brother says he wasn't blaming him, he was just answering his question. Yo says they should rest, and if he was how steep the hill is, he's really tired. He feels like his back and ass are gonna burst. He points over to a tree on a field, saying that those people are resting as well. Sanho looks over, but realizes that they're not just sleeping. He hops off of his horse, and Yono asks what he's doing. Sanho approaches them and looks down, seeing flies in their corpses. And Yonyo asks what he's doing, but Sanho says they were too late, as every one of these men are dead. Yonyo starts screaming, and Sanho tells him to take a look at this, as he takes off one of their clothes, showing a flower wound on a man's chest. He says this is called the flower indulging palm. Yono asks what kind of name that is, and Sanho says it used to be called the crimson palm, but because of a rapist named Sa Yoju Ak, who went around committing evil acts using this technique, it became the flower indulging palm. Yono asks if he's trying to say there's a rapist around here. Sanho says he goes for women who are climbing the mountains, and that these bodies mean that he ambushed them while trying to get a woman. In other words, there's a woman in danger somewhere around here. He dashes off the ground, telling his brother to stay here, and he flies off like he's Superman.
And Yono asks if he's really meant to stay here with these stanky-ass corpses, but his brother is way too gone. Yo-Yo realizes that there's no point in screaming and looks over grossed out as he's stuck with 2 horses who also stink and actual rotting corpses, and he says that he's screwed. Later that night, he says he doesn't know where his brother is because it's taken him so long and he should have just brought him along like with him. He wonders if maybe something happened, but there's no way his brother would be this late otherwise. He starts to hear the sound of some animals, and he says that he needs to do something because he might become a tiger's dinner if he just stands here like this. Then lightning strikes behind him, scaring him as it begins to have a very heavy downpour, drenching everything. and he looks up saying that he's actually screwed. We then hear him screaming, and he wonders how he ended up like this, as he's put both of the corpses on horseback and is pushing them up a hill, saying that he can't just leave them behind since they might become tiger food, and he can't bury them either because it's raining and he needs to find some shelter now. As he's pushing the horse is getting mad at him, and Yono asks why it's not listening to him. With the river rapid below and them being on the edge of a cliff stressing the horse out, lightning strikes, scaring it, causing it to kick Yono. Yunyo screams and starts to fall backwards down the hill, hitting his head, his back, and then his head once more, landing in some bushes at the bottom. He starts groaning and saying that he can't believe that damn horse, but when he looks around, he realizes that he's in a cave and there's no rain. He starts screaming, saying that he finally found shelter, and the horses follow him in, still carrying the two men. Yono ties them off to a rock, saying that he can't even hit them and that this is why he prefers to stay home. He left a mark outside the cave, so hopefully his brother can find him, but he's low-key a little worried. Realizing he doesn't know what to do, he decides to just lay down and try to sleep. But when he does, he starts thinking about his brother, saying that he really hopes nothing went wrong, but says that his brother is strong and he's sure that he'll be fine. As he starts falling asleep, the horses eat the rope and walk off, leaving him in the cave alone. As morning rises, it sets once more. Bro literally slept all day, but then an aura starts to envelop him in the middle of his sleep as he starts floating in the middle of the cave. It lifts him up towards the ceiling and then starts floating him deeper into the cave, still completely asleep. His head then starts to phase through a rock and he vanishes like he was never in the cave to begin with. When he comes to, he wonders what he's looking at as there's a weird green aura floating around the room. He says that this is weird and it looks like the cave he was in, and he wonders if maybe he rolled in deeper into sleep. He then hears a voice calling him fated human. He starts screaming and falls to the floor and looking up surprised. An orb then welcomes him to the fated place, calling him the successor of the radiant sword. Yono asks if this sparkling thing is speaking. The aura says that they have transcended the restraints of a physical being and they are speaking from beyond time and space. If he accepts their offer, he will rule the world. Yono starts freaking out because it's a ghost, and they tell him not to be afraid. They are already dead, only their will has been left behind, and that they have prepared this for someone who will get hereafter, so he should accept it without doubt. Yono says that this situation seems familiar, a cave without human presence and an old man's will. Realizing that this is something told in so many Muram stories, he says that this is a fated encounter and starts getting happy. He says the heavens are rewarding him for his kindness. He won't even have to go to the martial training hall if he becomes strong right here. As the orb tells him that there is no time, they need to inherit the sword and write the morals of the world. They will teach the radiant sword, and he can train himself endlessly. Yunyo just keeps agreeing to everything they say. The orb says that he should be talented enough if he has his blood, and if he trains hard here for 30 years, he should be able to replicate his technique somewhat. Yono asks if he heard that right and if it's really 30 years. They say yes, it's only 30. Yono tells him to wait, and he says that he doesn't think the shit is for him and that he should double it up and give it to the next person. The orb's silent for a second, then starts screaming, asking what he means. Yono says he'd rather let this go than stay here for 30 years. The Mad Dog continues explaining the story, saying that that meeting is how the loser Yono actually came to become so strong. He starts to run away from the orb, and the orb tells him to wait. Yono's turn, and we see an old man take form, saying to wait just 1 second, and then his name is Bek Mahan, which also means white infinity. Yono looks at Mahan for a second and says that he knew he was a scammer. The old man is surprised,
asking what he means by that. Yo says he pretended to be one thing, and when that didn't work, he revealed his true self. Mahan says that he wasn't pretending. He's actually a spirit who has left his body. Yo asks if he's really meant to believe that before screaming and punching straight through his head, as we see his entire arms start to go through him. He falls forward through the old man, who asks what he's doing. Yo starts freaking out since he's really a ghost. Mahan says he's not a ghost. This is the spirit transmission art, something only martial artists at a very high level can use. Yo says that they call people like him ghosts, and he says that he's not one and starts screaming. Back to the present with the story being told. The Mad Dog says that was how Yano met his master. The historian asks if something like that really exists, and he says that it's a technique only martial artists of the highest level can attain. She asks who one martial artist is that can use the ability, and he asks if she knows the Sword Emperor. She says that is a given. He's the strongest person in history and the greatest in the Thousand Sword Clan who will be remembered forever. The Mad Dog says exactly. He's talking about Bek Mahan, the Radiant Sword. The man who was later called Sword Emperor is the Radiant Sovereign's master. She's surprised, saying that he lived 300 years ago. The Mad Dog says that's right, and he's from an already forgotten generation. Regardless, it's true that he made Yanyo.
She says that's incredible, and if that means the Radiant Martial Sovereign requested to be his disciple right after hearing his name. He laughs, saying that Yanyo was actually the opposite. The Sword Emperor, who figured none of his descendants looked for him for 300 years, needed a disciple at all cost and begged that Yanyo do it. Yo asks why he's throwing a tantrum as he's not even from the Beck clan and he really can't learn from him, so he's going to go. Mahan asks if he thinks he'd let him go so easily as he stretches his hands out using his aura to close the cave off. Yana looks up confused. Mahan asks what he thinks as it's a super thick stone gate and with his current abilities he'll never be able to lift or break it, but if he learns his martial arts he'll be able to cut through it like a piece of paper and leave. Yo says there's no helping it and starts reaching into his robe. Mahan says he won't be able to cut it with his abilities. Yo starts hacking away at the hole and the old man is confused, asking him what he's doing. Yo says surely he can tell that he's digging a hole. No matter how strong it is, it's still stone, which means it'll slowly break down if he grinds it with metal and he'll break through in a year or two. Mahan asks if he really plans to do this for that long. Yo says that's nothing when he's trying to get him stuck in here for 30. Mahan calls him a madman, saying that he can't even beat him to death and tells him to just try learning as he won't disappoint him, but Yono says he doesn't like him. Mahan continues saying that he'll allow him to leave after 20. Yo says 20 is too long and he'd only consider it if he said 3. Mahan starts to get pissed, saying that that's a joke and there's no way he'd learn it in 3 years. Even if Zhang Sunfang came back to life, he wouldn't be able to do that. Yo says I guess that means they're not meant to be and gets back to digging at the wall, making him furious. Mahan says 5 years, causing young Yo to stop. He says if he gives him 5 years, he'll do whatever it takes to make him the strongest in the world in 5 years. With that being Yano's dream, he starts thinking about it as a tempting offer. Yo says he's never even heard of a spirit as vivid as him, and maybe the technique just isn't told by word of mouth, and he might be telling half the truth, and he might actually have been the strongest in the world at some point, and that he'll use this opportunity, since 5 years isn't that long, and he agrees, saying that he'll do it. Continues saying, of course, Yo didn't know that he was the Sword Emperor at the time. The Sword Emperor is quite unfortunate as well, since the person he met at the end of his life just happened to be none other than Yanyo. Mahan tells him to wake up already, calling him a bastard, and when Yano does, he wonders why he's waking him up, saying that he's so tired, asking if he doesn't need sleep, but says that it's only because he's dead, and he's a human, and humans need to sleep. Mahan held back all of his frustration and says that they can start training now after all the disciple he had finally received at the end of his life was nothing but a lazy bastard. Yano asks if he's really meant to train as soon as he woke up. It turns out that all he would do is sleep all day and practice the moves once during training. Mahan tries to tell him that it's going to take 50 years at this rate, not 5. Yo asks if there's an easier way to learn, and Mahan says this is as easy as it gets. Yo says if he didn't speak it,
At the very least, it would be less annoying, and that this is why he needs to meet a talented master. These words echoed throughout Mahan's head, but he still held back his anger. And if he had an actual body, he would have suffered ki deviation and collapse from anger. He says he can't believe he wanted nothing but success and to pass down his martial arts, leaving his spirit in this awful state, forcing him to endure this. And if he had a body, he would have beaten the hell out of this kid to teach him a lesson. Yoon starts rolling around on the floor and asks Mahan how he did that. Mahan asks what he's talking about. Yunyo says dropping that stone gate, saying that can't he use that power to manipulate his body to teach him martial arts? He says that he just pulled a string on a device he had already made in advance. And Yunyo says how, when he doesn't have a body? And Mahan says it's unrelated to that. He simply used psychic levitation to pull the string with ki alone. He then realizes what Yunyo is talking about and starts laughing, wondering why he didn't think about this earlier. Yunyo says what's wrong with him and if he's finally gone crazy. He says that he was too fixated on thinking that he doesn't have a body. Or maybe that's because they're incomplete parts, since he has been maintaining this spirit for 300 years. But thanks to him, he learned something good. Yono asks what he's talking about. And when he feels something brushed by his face and hears a loud-ass sound, he turns wondering what that was just now, as we see a rock embedded into the wall beside him. And Mahan says thanks to him, he realized that even if he doesn't have a body, he can still move rocks whenever he wants. Yoon getting worried, Mahan says that this means that if he can move the rocks, he can do things like this, as he starts preparing to shotgun him. Yoon screams, saying to wait, and calls him old man, but corrects himself, saying that he wants to talk to his master. And that day, Mahan and Yonyo's training continued, day and night. He learned swordsmanship without rest during the day, as if he did try to rest, the old man would force him up and they debated during the night. Whenever Yonyo slept, he trained using the unparalleled dream mythic arts that Mahan taught him, and for him, living became living to become a sword of the radiant arts. And he is on his way to achieve that. As we see, he actually stops his master's rocks of love, and his master looked proud. And that was how 5 years passed by in a flash. He got to the point when Yonyo could lift the gate by himself with pure strength. And when he returned, he looked up at the sky, and it was time for him to finally show the world who he had become. But before that, it jumps back to a whole day ago, and Yonyo was sleeping on the floor. Meihan calls out to him, and Yonyo asks for a little longer. Meihan calls out to him again, and Yonyo says that he was only going to sleep for a bit longer, asking why he doesn't believe him, but then he's confused as Meihan is in his physical form telling him to come over here. Yonyo says, "What's going on?" And Meihan says he's learned martial arts for his entire life, and his hope was to see the end of it, so he didn't bother with anything but martial arts. And at the end of solely chasing them, he became a crabby old man who is treated distantly by his clan. Yoyo says, "What's up with him today, since that's very unlike him?" Meihan says that when he thinks about it, it was obvious why his clan didn't come looking for him. He, after all, abandoned his children and family all for the sake of martial arts. He thought seeing the end of martial arts would give him everything he wanted, but in the end he was wrong. Chasing that dream only allowed him to realize what he truly wanted. Martial arts is what humans do, so not walking with people to see the end of swordsmanship is meaningless. And that Yonyo helped him realize that. He taught someone for the first time. He was angry and annoyed, and he was really frustrated, but he also felt happiness and learned joy from seeing him grow, and he learned about fondness as well. Yo asks what's up with him as he's acting as if they'll never see each other again. Meihan says that they won't because it's time. Yo in surprise asking if he's really thinking he's going to fall for this, as he said he should train for 30 years and it's only been 5. So he has to exist for 25 more years. Meihan says that he did say that, and Yonyo asks, "What's the deal?" The internal key that he gave to him in the form of an elixir was that he could live without eating in here. That's not something as easy to maintain as he thinks, and he has no more power left, so it's time for him to say goodbye. Yonyo asks why he never told him. If he had, he would have left, found food, and come back to train. Meihan says he's sure he would have come back, in his sarcastic tone, and he understands how he feels. He then gets up saying that he enjoyed the time they shared, and he wanted to watch him travel and sightsee the world. But this is fine too, and he gives him a very endearing look in his eyes.
He can already see Yonyo crisscrossing through the world, flipping it on its head. He tells him to go see the world and keep it within him, and other things will naturally follow, and that he should see people before he sees the world. While looking up, he didn't see what was at his feet, and he shouldn't make the same mistakes he did. And if no one else knows about his existence, his movements, and his swordsmanship, Mahan will be within them, as they are all residing within Yonyo. He says that even if he's not outstanding or great, that's fine with him. Yonyo tells him that he can't leave as there is so much he still hasn't learned and it's not okay for him not to, that he should wait at least a day longer. Mahan fades out into a blue mist, saying that he should just be happy in the end. Yonyo tries to grab out towards him, but realizes it's too late. He stands there in silence for a second and starts bawling his eyes out, saying that he could have told him earlier. Now back to the present. Yonyo is pissed, saying that this is why he left without telling him in advance. As we see, he ruined Yonyo's clothing by writing on it. Yonyo says that he should have just left nicely, and he wonders why the hell he would do this. Before disappearing, Mahan wrote a message on Yonyo's clothes. To summarize, Yonyo's martial arts that he learned as quickly as possible in 5 years was still incomplete. Since he wouldn't train once Mahan disappeared, he put a sort of feature on Yonyo's body, that being that his inner elixir that he had swallowed would cause his martial arts to improve, and you might see it as automatically getting stronger, but it's not exactly that. If the martial arts that Yoyo is experiencing and obtaining is slower than the speed of the elixir, his inner energy would be sucked in by Mahan and he would explode and die. To summarize, he'll die if he's lazy. He knew that damned old man was up to no good. Mahan tells him to travel the world and see things. When he sees the world, he'll learn to feel things. When he feels things, he'll learn things. He shouldn't be satisfied with becoming a small person or staying in a small place. He needs to see big things and become a big person. Yo clicks his tongue saying that he's one hell of a guy. He continues saying that the first place he must go is to Ruin and find the world's greatest scholar and stay with him, and that he'll definitely feel something after being there. Yo just wonders why the hell he's making him literally go across the entire world. He was going to go home, but he'll go back after resolving everything so his family shouldn't worry, and he's sure his brother is okay. He looks around saying that he has to do what he must. Right before he leaves, he bows down to the cave that he met Mahan in. He says that he won't be back, so he should just be aware of that. He can't believe he's bothering him until the end. But where the hell is Rulin, and how to get there? In the cave, we see Mahan's form taking place once more, and he starts laughing like an absolute demon, saying that if he doesn't learn about the world, he'll dry up like a mummy and die. He wonders what kind of martial arts exist in the world like that, and he can't let him just live in some random place in the middle of nowhere. The world is too broad to let him do that, and it's a waste of his martial arts, calling him a bastard. This is where he actually starts fading out for real, and he says that he was happy thanks to Yanyo, and that he too hopes that he'll be happy as well. Yo can smell the change in the wind and thinks about his master once more, and with that time has passed and he is now inside of a place called Kaifang. His clothes are absolutely disgusting, so are his little dogs. I wish I could clean them off with my tongue.
Yono is low-key kind of a corpse and asks if this is Kei Fang. We see the guy he's talking to sitting on a log wondering who he is, saying yes, and this is the branch leader of the Beggar sect named Jang Il. Kinda looks like the Mad Dog. Yono says he had came because he had something to ask. Jang Il asks if he has money, and Yono asks if he really has to pay. Jang Il says of course, since nothing in this world is free. He takes a good look at Yono, saying that his voice sounds like he's barely 20, but his face looks like he's well over 50, and he's never seen such a beggar amongst all of the beggars he's seen and seems more like a ghost. He wants to do it for free since it seems they're in the same sect, but there are still rules here. Yonyo asked what he means by the same sect, and Jang Il says he can tell they are. Yonyo asks how the hell he looks like a beggar and starts slapping his chest. And Jang Il says he's obviously one, and if he has no money, he can't give him info, so he should leave, and he should come with some money after doing some begging. Yono asks why he would do that when he's not a beggar though. Jang Il says it's only natural that he would go beg, and he looks like he could make money just by putting a basket
in front of where he sits, wondering why he's wasting his talents. Realizing this is a good chance, he asks if he would like to work together. It then jumps to Yono looking at a whole bunch of money below him, and Jang Il is shaking and starts freaking out, saying he can't believe he earned half a year of operating costs for this branch in half a day, and that the god of wealth has come to visit them. Jang Il asks what he wants to know, and Yono wants a list of locations, hobbies, and specialties of famous scholars and for blacksmiths. He continues with list after list, and Jang Il says he did promise him, so he can tell him, but he should come back in 7 days. Yono says he has nowhere to go, so he'll just stay right here. Jang Il says that's fine with him, and a few days later, Jang Il came to regret those words. One of the members of the sect told him that there was trouble. Yono asks what trouble there could be for the beggars, and the guy says that he thinks that they're all going to starve to death. Jang Il asks what he's talking about. The guy tells Jang Il to hurry up and look at this, and he's absolutely surprised as the merchants are pointing over saying that if they are beggars, they need to at least be on that level, as they are just raining money all over Yongyo, saying that the pitiful bastard needs to eat. Jang Il was just surprised because it turned out that Yongyo has completely taken over the beggar world already. A little later, we see Yongyo yawning, saying that he's thirsty. Jang Il tells the men to bring him water, and Yono says the bowl is dirty. Jang Il starts slapping the piss out of the guy, saying that he needs to bring a new bowl, calling him a stupid beggar. That's some friendly fire. Yonyo also complains that the water is lukewarm, and Jang Il tells them to go get some cold water from the mountains. Yo-Yo lays there saying that this sure is nice, but Jang Il is pissed, saying that he is a branch leader of the beggar sect, and having to act as a servant for this stupid beggar is infuriating. But if he kicks him out, his guys will starve, and he wonders when the information that he requested is going to get here. He starts massaging Yono's back, but says they're low-key all going to end up dead at this rate. Some men start yelling, saying that they finally have the info, and Jang Il gets excited, saying finally, and he starts digging into Yono's back for their massage. Yono's reading through the info and asks if this is really all of it. Jang Il asks what he means, and Yono asks if they really wanted to sell him something like this. Jang Il asks for the info and starts reading it and is just confused, wondering if they're really trying to kill them all. This is only half of what he requested, and this is bad, so he needs to do something. Yono wonders if it's because he didn't pay enough, but Jang Il says to wait before he acts, and he starts pushing Yono to the street, saying they can't have him begging anymore and he needs to go this way as he'll give him some new information. They're inside of a fancy place standing before a woman who says it's rare to see him here, calling him Fox Dog. This is the house sect branch leader of Kayang named Gui Nung Nang. Jang Wang greets her, and Yono starts asking what she means by Fox Dog and asks if that's really his title, saying he's a little... Jang Il gets annoyed and goes to speak up, but every single time he does, Yono just calls him over and over. Nang Nang says that this is surprising and she can't believe that the branch leader of the Kayang is coming to the house sect for information and that she's sure they're aware they're rivals. He says that he's not asking for the beggar sect, he's brought a customer here, and Yono just keeps calling him over and over. She asks if he's kidding right now or not, and if it's really not the beggar sect, asking when the client itself is a beggar, and if he's trying to insult her if this is some joke, as they don't have information to sell to beggars. Yono says that he's not from the beggar sect, though. Nang Nang says that she has no choice but to take action if he keeps insulting them, and that he needs to be aware they have pride. Yono wonders if she didn't hear, saying that he thought the house sect is an intelligence organization, but she doesn't even know if he's from the beggar sect or not, and he can't believe she's living off of selling information when she doesn't even know something so simple when their basics are so bad. She gets pissed and gets rage-baited and calls out for someone named Gongmu. They say, yes, ma'am, and she asks Gongmu who Yonyo is. They say that they don't know about him, but he is definitely not from the beggar sect. She gets frustrated, and Yongyo says that surely she can sell information now, but she says no, and she doesn't want to, and he can get out. Yono laughs, saying that she definitely doesn't have a business mindset as he's offering to pay her, yet she is still refusing, and he guesses it's not long until the house sect is done for. She tells him that he better watch his mouth unless he wants to see his limbs cut off. He tells him that he's not wrong, and he calls her old lady, which sends her over the edge.
She asks if he's insulting them right now, and he wonders why she's so mad. She calls out for Gong Mia, saying to teach this bastard a lesson. Gong Mia says yes, ma'am, as he starts dashing from the ceiling, instantly off the stairs towards Yongwo. As he starts going to attack him, Jiang El tries to stop it, saying no. but Yongwo puts his hand on his face, telling him to move before slamming the dude straight into the floor like Luffy did to Bellamy in One Piece. Nang Nang is speechless, and even Zhang Yel is. Yo sighs, and they can't believe that he was a martial master. Yongwo apologizes, saying that it's just his instinct to counterattack if someone tries to hit him. It would have gone much easier if he had told him he was going to attack. Zhang Yel says he thought he did learn martial arts, but he didn't expect him to be this strong, and he's basically a monster. Yano says this is all that old man's fault. Nang Nang, realizing that she made a mistake, says that she didn't know he was such a prestigious customer. He wonders what she's talking about, as he's been telling her from the start he's not from the Beggar sect. She says in any case, and glances toward Zhang Yel, saying that it doesn't seem like he's here with good intentions. He says that she probably won't believe him, but he really is not here to fight. There was just information that their sect could not obtain, so he came here to ask for help. She asks if he's serious, and he says yes, as Yongwo is dragging Gong's corpse. She says that this is akin to bringing a tiger over to a rabbit's den and asking for some fur. She says that she knows it's hard to believe, but to be serious. She says that she'll believe him, and he thanks her, but she says giving him info is a separate matter. It's true that his client hurt her person, so they're going to need compensation. Yongo asks what she's talking about, and she says that there's a simple rule in the Orthodox world: blood for blood, a life for a life. She summons her guards, called the Four Shadows, who appear out of literally nowhere and start a farming. Yongo says everyone has a fancy way of making an appearance in this place, and she says that she doesn't know what his purpose in being here is, but since he has hurt one of them, he will not be able to leave unharmed. Yongo asks if it's really that hard to understand. It was just a mistake, and he hit him lightly because he tried to hit him first. She gets pissed, saying that she can't believe the skeletal-looking bastard is causing so much trouble. She continues with that whole unorthodox spiel about an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, and Yano says that sounds like some lone shark. Zhang Yel tries to get him to stop. She says she's going to take some flesh from his face and be done with it. Yongo says he's sorry to break it to her, but he doesn't really have any fat on his face since he hasn't been eating properly recently. She starts getting furious and tells her men to kill him as all four of them leap off from where she's standing. Bro, put your tongue back up. As they get close, Yongwo says that he thought they were just going to carve out a bit of flesh from his face, but now they're trying to kill him. And seeing this guy licking his lips, he says that's a little too freaky for him. He instantly deals with all four of them without even really having to move at all, as he takes just a step forward, sending them all flying. She's absolutely surprised to the point that she develops a second shin, and Yangyo says that nobody should move as he doesn't want to have to kill anyone today. Zhangyeo looks taken aback, but so does Nangning. She says that his aura is overwhelming. Yono says that his master told him that if someone is willing to attack once, they will be willing to attack 3 or even 4 times, so he should never allow that to happen. While he doesn't like that old man, he's never said anything wrong. Nangning realizes she messed with the wrong person, and he's not someone she can handle. And she needs to get it together because if she messes up here, the entire branch of the house sect might just meet its downfall. She asks him what it is that he wants, and he says information. She says yes, but asks what specifically he wants. Zhangyeo says that he has the papers, and he hopes that she can fill out the empty spots. She starts reading it, asking if they really brought this monster like him to the house sect just because they couldn't resolve such a simple matter. She says it's nothing difficult, and she needs some time, asking if he can wait. He says yes, and she says that she'll be done in about 15 minutes. As for Zhangyeo, he needs to come see her now. He gets scared. Then it jumps to Yono, laughing as he's pointing forward. We see Zhangyeo got beat up, and Yano says his face is like a dumpling, asking if he really got his rock like that. Zhangyeo tells him to shut up, and Yano says I guess the Beggar sect is nothing, seeing as how he's getting beaten up by the house sect. Zhangyeo asks if that woman looks like a mere regular sect member. She's the daughter of the house sect leader. She's a future leader of the sect, and she ate Miracle Mason like meals and ate all kinds of good things. So how could you be a match for her?
She appears directly behind him and she tells him that she's brought the information. He thanks her and she says that they do have their own rules, though. Yu asks what she's talking about, and Zhang Yil tells him that it's information fees. Yuyo now understands, asking how much. She says it's 5, and Yunyo says that it's cheap, handing it to her. Zhang Yil tells him that it's silver, though, and Yuno asks why the hell it's so expensive. She says that it was pretty high security info, which is why it's pricey. Yunyo says, oh, well, and he starts leaving. Zhang Yil asks where he's going, and Yuno asks where he thinks, as he has to go earn his 5 silver yang. Zhang Yil says no, as he brought him here for a reason. Yuno asks what he's meant to do then, and Zhang Yil tells him to wait a second, and he used up all of the money Yang Yo had earned, along with his hidden stash, to cough up the 5 silver yang. But he didn't have. He borrowed with an IOU. His heart aches, but they actually managed to pay it off. Zhang Yil calls him evil, saying he had to use up all of his hidden savings. Yunyo says this is definitely really thorough information. It's a whole other league compared to the information that the beggars bring in, and he guesses that they really are on different levels. He also wants to send a letter to Guangdong, asking if it will be expensive. She says it will be more expensive than an escort agency, but she'll do it in exchange for him answering some of her questions. She asks for his name, and he tells her. She asks for his age, and he tells her that he's 17. Zhang Yil can't believe that he's younger than him.
Nang Nang says that his martial prowess is definitely not that of a 17-year-old. She starts saying his name over and over in her head and then realizes it, asking him if he is Guan Dong's Young Yo, the second son of the Young clan. Young Yo asks if she knows him, and she says that, of course, the Young clan requested them to find him. Jang Il asks Young Yo if he is Sanha's younger brother. Young Yo asks if he knows his brother, and he says of course, as he's his friend. Nang Nang asks if he's going to send a letter to the Young clan, as it'll take at least 10 days. He says it's all right. They've waited 5 years, so 10 more days won't hurt. She hands him a cloth, saying that this will mark him as a special guest of their sect. If he ties it where he wants, an informant of the sect will come find him. Yuyo asks if it's free, and she says no. But she can't believe that someone so skilled that can take down the Four Swords at 17 exists, because there's nobody else like him in the Central Plains, so creating a connection with him will be great. Yunyo says it's pointless if he has to pay for it, and she says that she'll give him information for free next time. He asks if that's really the case, and she says it's specially for him, and she doesn't want to lose him as a customer because of what happened earlier. Yunyo says nothing really happened though, and Jang Il says that his face is like a dumpling, and he has been rendered completely broke. Yunyo says that happens often for a loser, and Jang Il yells at him. As they leave the sect, Jang Il says that all of his money is gone. Yunyo tells him that money comes and goes, and besides, a beggar shouldn't be greedy like that, and he should tap into his roots. Jang Il wants to beat him up, but knows that he can't. He asks if he's got all the information he wanted, saying that if that's the case, they shouldn't see each other anymore. Yunyo tells him to wait as there's a problem, and Jang Il asks what it is. Yunyo says that he doesn't have any money, and he looks super happy about it. Jang Il, though, is just pissed that he has to deal with him longer and yells. We see up on top of the house sect, Nang Nang is watching, and she is heavily processing, and she is really thinking about it. She calls out to Gong Mia, saying that they need to send a letter to the sect, telling them that the second son of the Yong clan, who went missing, has now come back as a martial master. We see inside of the great Hanim Institute, a man is sitting there holding his teacup, and he says it sure is nice today. He is the third grand scholar named Moon Yuan. His daughter calls out to him, saying that there's a guest for him. This is his daughter named Moon Yoonji. Yuan says that he doesn't have anything on schedule today, and Yoonji says that they wanted to play a game of Go with him. Yuan instantly gets excited, asking if she really means it. Yoonji guides the guest over, and we see it's none other than Yang Yo, and he says that he hopes he's not intruding. Yuan says of course not. It is an indulgence to have guests over, and he heard that he wanted to play with him. Yunyo says that's the only kind of thing he knows how to play. Yuan says they'll give it a go then, and that he'll play the white so he can go first. Yunyo says that he will begin, and he starts taking out his pieces. Yuan says that he shouldn't expect much from him. He looks like he's here to get a free meal, so he'll just help him out after a game or so, but with pure confidence and precision, Young Yo takes out the piece and slams it exactly where he wants on the board. Yuan looks a little surprised and says that he guesses he's not a beginner, and that's nice to see. They continue. Then Yuan says that he's actually pretty fast with his moves. It's rare to see someone his age so experienced. They continue, and every single time he makes a move, Young Yo counters in an instant. Yuan looks more wary as time goes on, and shakily he lifts up his piece. Bro got them Enderman fingers. He asks what the hell is going on here, as he isn't just being fast, as he's a war demon. Yunyo asks him if he's going to make his move or not. Yuan looks down at the board and says that this is absolutely amazing, and that if he were to compare Youngyo's playstyle to something, it would be like that of angry ocean waves. He's like a person crazed for battles, attacking boldly even when a fight is not necessary. If he sees even a slight opening, he charges like a starving demon and chomps down. He is most definitely the epitome of a war demon. Yuan says that was a good game, and that he has quite a unique playstyle. Yunyo thanks him, saying it's because of all the bullying he endured from his master. Yuan asks about his master, and Yunyo says that he was a very strict old man. If it's not too much of an ask, he would
stay over for a bit, as his master told him to stay in the area for a while. Yuan says that he must be following his teachings pretty strictly, and that he'll of course help. He'll prepare a room for him, and he can stay as long as he would like. He tells his daughter, Yunji, to prepare the room and guide him to the bath, as well as give him some clothes. Yuan then warns him that he doesn't have any money. Yuan laughs, saying that he wouldn't expect payment from a guest like him. He was actually going to ask him to stay here if he had not asked. In return, he wants to play Go with him or a guest sometimes. Yuan says that he can definitely do that and bows, thanking him for his courtesy. Yunji says to follow her, and Yono heads to the bath and starts relaxing, saying how nice this is. He hated baths when he was younger, maybe because the water is nice, but he feels like his skin is getting clearer. He says that he's almost going to cry from how nice this is, and it's all that damn old man's fault.
Outside the bath, Yeonji is clearly annoyed, and she says that she doesn't get it at all, wondering why her father accepted someone like him as a guest. Yojo exits the bath with his hair covering his face, scaring her. She starts screaming, and he asks what's wrong. She says that she thought he was a ghost, telling him to cover up. He grabs the towel, and we see her heart start to throb as she gets a good look at Yono's face, seeing that he's not what she thought he was before. He asks her if this is good enough, and she drops the towels out of sheer shock, asking him who the hell he is. A few days later, we hear her yelling at her father, telling him to say something to that person. He asks who, and she says the new guy. He doesn't leave his room at all. He sleeps all day. If he's not eating, that's all he does is sleep. Ewan smiles, saying that he actually forgot to ask his name. He says that he said that sloth is a sin and that one should always keep himself busy. So why isn't he saying anything about him being lazy, as he might be a guest, but he is ruining the atmosphere. He tells his daughter that he likes Go, and you can learn a lot about your opponent when playing. You can hide your facial expressions and watch your words, but you cannot hide yourself when playing the game. A person who is impatient cannot play patiently, and those who are the opposite cannot learn to enjoy battle. He can tell how someone has lived their life along with their personality when you play Go with them. His play style is rushed and rough, but he's never seen one like this. He's definitely not a lazy person. He assumes that he's lived a very rough life. If the sun shines down brightly, the shadows it casts will be just as dark. If he's being lazy, he sure just means that his life until now has been hard. One should not chase away a bird that has come under the roof to avoid the rain. She should not question the bird as to why it's not flying through the rain and just let him rest. She sighs, saying, okay, but she's actually hella annoyed. As she's sitting there seeing him be the lazy slob he is, she says that her father's being deceived. There's no way this lazy ass is like her father described, and she's going to get him kicked out. She stands over him, telling him to get up, and he rolls over, asking why. She tells him to get up since the sun is already out. He says to let him know when the sun sets then, and she asks what's wrong with him. Everyone else is studying here, and he's doing nothing but sleeping for like a whole week. He says they're studying because they want to study. He's sleeping because he wants to sleep, so what's the problem? She tells him to shut up. She can't just stand watching him roll around here without even taking a bath, asking him if everything is washing his bed sheets. He needs to at least do something to pay for the food, and that he may not know it, but they're not that well off. They can feed people who study, but they don't have enough to just feed someone who lazes around. He tells her that her father said it was okay, and she says that she's the one in charge of the money. She looks really serious about this. He asks what he should do then, and she tells him to do the laundry. As we see all the dirty clothes piled around him, he asks if this is all of it, and she says it's not much. He wonders if it will cover his food, and she says that it will. He says that with this amount of work, he would assume they're putting gold flakes in his rice, telling him to make sure it's clean, and she's not going to be the one to rewash it if it's not. She laughs, saying that he deserves this, and he will definitely not be able to finish this all by today. 2 hours later, she comes back outside and is completely taken aback, as every single piece of clothing is now completely clean and set out to dry. She asks, how the hell did you do this? If everything was always this white, how exactly did you manage to pull this off? She says that she can't let him just laze around again and that she'll get him to do more. She then takes him to a bunch of logs that he's chopping, and he asks if she really means all of this. She says that she'll give him a week, asking if he can do it, saying that she bets he'll run away after a day. She comes back a couple hours later, and it's all done as he's laying atop, and she says that it should have taken people 10 days to do it. Same thing happened with the dishes, even the gardening. She asks how the hell he's so capable, and that is how his life in the area began. We see the mad dog saying that it was a mistake to take him in. I'm very certain that this is Jangyul. He says that they never should have taken Yo-Yo into his home. The historian very curiously asks what happened, and the mad dog says that it all began with one simple thing, and it was Go. We see Yono sighing, asking how he has come to this, as he thought it would just be occasional. We see tons of scholars arriving to come get a peek at his play style. Yono says that bringing people here to play with him is cheating. It's none other than Yuan's fault, because he wrote a letter telling everybody to come check it out, saying that his play style is so unique. We see that Yono is playing. Scholar after scholar, people understood now that a master of Go has finally showed up. Yono Sai asking who's next. We see that one of the men he's
Fighting, very confused by Yono's move, asking why he would do that because it's basically suicide.
He asks if it's a mistake, saying there's no way, maybe if he were a regular civilian, but his opponent is the undefeated genius of Han Lim. Then he must have some kind of plan in mind, and it's got to be a trap that he must avoid, and he's sure that he was plotting something. As he sees Yanyo shaking, he misunderstands, saying that he's glad he avoided it. Yo, though, is just pissed, asking why the hell he would back off there when he was giving him a free opening. He says he did that so he can lose, as he'll be playing Go forever if he doesn't. He really hoped that he'd fall for it, as he will lose in 10 moves, so to take the bait. The scholar puts his hands together, saying that he loses, and Yono cries, saying for Gon's sake he wants to just leave already. He mopes back to his room, saying he kept making suicidal moves so that he could lose, but they never tried taking his pieces, and they were just scared. He says that this raid is going to have more people coming to play, and he'd rather go do the laundry because his back hurts. He hears Yoonji yelling, saying that she already said she didn't want to. He turns the corner, seeing an absolute ugly bastard, asking if she really doesn't want to marry him. His name is Mukpung. Yoonji says absolutely not. Mukpung says she'll regret it, and she says that she won't. Mukpung says that she better think it through again, as he's always got what he's wanting, and he'll never let go of something he wants, and he's just offering right now, but if she keeps refusing, it won't be an offer next time. Asking if it's okay for her family's great institute to fall just because of her, she tells him to do as he wishes, as the institute won't fall as easy as he thinks. He says sure, but he can make that happen, and she definitely knows that as well. She starts to feel frustrated and yells, saying she hates this about him, asking if he thinks that everything will work out in his favor just because he wanted to. And she tells him that she does not plan to marry him and that it isn't possible. And she goes to walk away, saying goodbye. He grabs onto her wrist, and we see it's with way too much force as it starts hurting her. She screams, telling him to let go, and he says it's in her best interest not to anger me, asking if she thinks she can act so bold even if he tries to take her right here and now. She starts to be fearful, and Yonyo says that's not something he should be saying in someone else's house. She turns, seeing him staring at Mukpung. In that moment of distraction, she breaks free and runs over to Yonyo, asking if he's already finished doing the laundry and firewood. He says that he's been playing Go until now, asking what she's talking about. He sees her hand shaking, saying that he wants to borrow this. He grabs the ribbon off of her hair and starts to use it to tie his up. He then looks towards Mukpung, and Mukpung says that it's rude to listen to other people's conversations. Yono says that he really doesn't know his manners. That being said, he doesn't think that Mukpung should be the one to tell him what's rude or not, and that people who care about manners usually don't act like him. Mukpung says he must be the genius of Han Lim, and Yono thanks him for recognizing him, saying that he has no idea who his fat ass is. He goes to tell him, and Yono says he actually doesn't really care, and this annoys him. Mukpung says that he should have just considered playing Go instead of getting in his way, and Yono says it's a shame as he's really good at that, just like right now. Mukpung starts to get furious, and then people start seeing Yonyo, asking if they can play with him tomorrow, and Yono says sure. Mukpung clicks his tongue annoyed, but says that he'll take his leave, but tells Yonyo not to forget. If she doesn't come running into his arms in 3 days, he's going to do things his way. As he leaves, Yonyo just wonders what his deal is and asks her who it is. She says that his name is Mukpung, and he's the adopted son of the Imperial Palace attendant who wields a ton of power. Yono asks what he was saying to her, and she says that he wants her to marry him, and she says no every single time, and it's so annoying. Yonji asks what's wrong with him, and he's from a good family, and he's determined. She asks if he wants to die, and she says he's not trying to marry her because he likes her. He just wants to use her. He may not know, but her father has a really good network here. People say that he's a perfect candidate to be a politician, too. And the reason he lives this type of lifestyle despite all of that isn't just because he has no interest in civil service. Yono says it must be because of Go. And she says, no, it's because the eunuchs of the Imperial Palace are very wary of her father. Yono asks why those nutless dudes are so wary of him, as this is just an institute. She says that's not all it is. The Great Han Lim Institute is different from the others. They're not affiliated with any organization, so getting to this point is difficult. But thanks to that, they have been able to form many deep connections with other groups. The reason the eunuchs are in power despite being corrupt and useless is because the forces of the area have not united to drive them out. However, if her father were able to control them, Yono says, I get it. That means the eunuchs would be in danger. She says exactly. That's why Mukpung's father is desperate to stop her father from taking on civil service. Recently, he has found a new way, a way to not have to fear the area uniting, while also gaining a close connection to a powerful figure, and that is for the two of them to be forced into a marriage. We see Mugpung apologizing to his father, saying that an individual called the Genius of Hanlim appeared, and it might be hard to continue with the plan. His father asks why that matters, as he's just a useless, good-for-nothing who plays Go all day. His father is the head of the eunuchs called Ji. Mugpung says he's not the problem, rather there are people from all over the nation coming to play against him. There are too many eyes watching and his actions are limited because of it, so it might be bad if he were to try to do something and missed all of that. Ji says he sees why he's hesitant and he apologizes. However, this mission is not just for his sake. Mugpung realizes the gravity of the situation, and Ji says taking over the Imperial Palace is a mission given by the one and only. Failing this mission is not an option for both of them.
Then he's more afraid to disappoint him than he is of death, asking his son if he understands. Mugpung says he's well aware, and Gi says sometimes violence is necessary. Mugpung asks if this is his permission, and Gi tells him to use the crowd to his advantage and kill every last one of them, including the Genius of Hanlim. Back outside of the Institute, we see a man asking Yuan if he's still not interested in a government position. This is the royal head inspector and the emperor's brother named Li Wangjia. Yuan apologizes, and Wangjia says that he needs him to see that he needs to be at the center, maintaining balance to stop Gi. Yuan doesn't say anything, and Wangjia takes a deep breath, saying that he needs to see this, and that their movements have been very suspicious lately. There is instability in the military, as well as these scholar officials, and Gi is getting into all of their heads. But still, Yuan has his reasons. And Wangjia says that he assumes he wants to ask why a man who cannot even have children would want to start a revolution. Yuan says yes, and Wangjia says that this is the time he should learn that there is another master that Gi is serving. The terror of the political fight between the eunuchs is beyond their imagination. Gi managed to get past all of them, despite having absolutely no foundation, saying, surely he finds that strange. Those who crossed him lost their lives in accidents, and those who did not suddenly died of diseases. It's as if someone was paving the path for him. Yuan says that might be a coincidence, and Wangjia says he thought the same until recently. After watching him, he got the thought that perhaps someone is helping him from behind is exactly why he needs him, as they need to unite as one against him. Yuan says he'll think about it a little more, and Wangjia clears his throat, asking what kind of person is this new genius who he's taken in. Yuan is glad that he asked, and he starts talking about how amazing he is. He says that he feels like he's hiding his true potential. Wangjia says that he's curious about him, asking when they can meet. He says that Yoonji would have gone to pick him up, and on cue, he hears her. He tells her to enter, and we see Youngyu dripping water all over the floor, asking if he's called for him. Wangjia just wonders if this is truly him. Yuan says that he's sorry that he called for him too early, asks if he slept well. Youngju just says yeah, and if only someone didn't pour cold water on his face while he was sleeping. Wangjia laughs, saying that he's glad that he slept well, saying that he wants to introduce him. Wangjia doesn't want to tell him exactly who he is, saying that he's just an old passerby. Yuan says it sounds like there's a grand reason behind his visit, asking what it is. Wangjia asks what other business he could have as he just wants to play Go. Yuan says that he can't though. Wangjia asks why, and Yuan says that he refuses. Wangjia says that he's been playing Go with all the people who come by though. Yuan says that he's not saying that he won't play it, he's saying that there are proper order to things. There are people who got here before him, so he should wait his turn. Wangjia laughs, saying that he can resolve that, and he'll ask the others to be understanding. Yuan says that's not really resolving things, and that's just coercion. Wangjia is surprised, and Yuan looks proud. Yuan says that he seems like he's got a pretty high social status, and I'm sure everyone would be forced into going along with whatever choice he makes, rather than agreeing because they are understanding, and that he values promises and rules. Wangjia says he's far more firm in his beliefs than he expected, and this is difficult. He asks if he can do something about it, and Yuan says that he just has to wait his turn. Wangjia now realizes that he doesn't know what to do, and Yoonji steps in, saying that she thinks she can resolve this. Yuan asks if she's certain, and she says yes. She says there's no way he values rules and promises because that's just a lie. She tells Yeonyo that if he plays this game, she'll cancel it. He asks if she's certain, saying it's tempting, but he has morals, but if she cancels tomorrow, he might consider it. She says that he shouldn't try to bargain for more, and if he wants to rest today, this is his only chance. There is no room for negotiation. Yeonyo instantly sits down, saying that he's ready to begin. Walter looks over at Yuan, wondering what that was about, and says that this is the worst, as he's not a man of his word after all, and that he would like to just leave, but he better see this through. He makes the first move, saying that he wants to see what he's like. And it cuts all the way to night as we see Wangjia just staring at the board. Yuan asks if he did enjoy playing the game with him, but Wangjia is thinking about it. He's analyzing the board at a very high level, and he says that he has such a violent and quick play style, and you wouldn't even see such plays if you were to play a game of Go in the middle of a battlefield. And he wonders what kind of life this kid has lived. However, he's not the right one. The laziness and the violence, they aren't what he wants. He says that was a waste of my time, I don't understand why he values him so highly. And Yuan says that it's because he saw. Wangjia asks what he saw. And Yuan says that during one of his games against him, he made a prophylactic move, and he thinks it's a very good one, and he thought the game was over. So he took his eyes off of it. But what he saw was the face of a man who had fallen deeply,
As his eyes started to shift as if he was floating around the cosmos, he could tell that he was into a rare trance. Wang Jia stops walking, asking if he's sure he saw it correctly, and Yuan tells him that he's very certain. Wang Jia laughs at him, saying that he doesn't intend on taking him either way. Yuan asks if that's so, and Wang Jia says that he wasted his time, but he got to see him, so I guess it wasn't actually a waste, and that he better get going early. Yuan asks if he's that busy, and Wang Jia says that he told him that the atmosphere has been tense lately. Yuan says he understands, and Wang Jia looks up at the moon, saying it's such a shame, as this night is so perfect. Elsewhere at the Institute, A is telling Mokpung that the preparations are complete. Mokpung says perfect, as we see him and his army ready to attack, and he says they need to get it done quickly, and they start leaping forward, flying over the walls, going after some of the workers. The work returns before we see blood being splattered. The door slowly opens as Mokpung enters, watching all the people of the Institute being slaughtered mercilessly, and there's nothing they can do. Mokpung says that this is why they should have listened to him while he was still being nice, and that they need to kill them all. And tonight the Great Institute of Hanlim will become a prison that not even a rat can escape. As Yeonyo is still sound asleep, Mokpung says that today he will teach Yuan a lesson. We see her and her father tied up in the courtyard. Yuan yells asking what the meaning of this is, and Mokpung says they received information that there's been suspicious activity in their institute. They've heard that all kinds of high authority people have been visiting recently. Yuan yells asking how the hell that's suspicious at all. And Mokpung asks what reason could there be for people with both political and martial power to get together. The only possible answer is a revolution. Yuan says they're only here to play Go, and Mokpung asks if he really wants him to believe that this many people gathered solely for that purpose. Yuan tells him he's serious, and
he's heard rumors about the genius. Mokpung says that he did hear the rumors, but rumors can be easily made up, and he looks around asking where he is exactly. One of the Gimps asks who he's looking for, and Mokpung says the genius that they're talking about. They say that there are no more people remaining in the building. Mokpung wonders if he ran off, saying that he must have left earlier as it would be impossible to run away after they got here. Calling him lucky, he says that they'll all be freed if they're innocent and that they will free and apologize if they find that there is no problem. One of the men comes over saying that he found it. It's an agreement of the people who are planning to partake in the revolution. Yuan says they've never done such a thing to begin with, and Mokpung holds up a book saying the proof is right in front of him. Yuan realizes that he came here from the beginning to frame them and that they've been had. All of the servants yell, saying that it wasn't them and they were innocent and they didn't know that this was happening. Wang Ya stands up saying that this sure is an interesting incident. Mokpung recognizes who he is, how much of a screw-up he has just committed. Wang Ya says that he should not be calling him by his name, but by his title. Everybody says that they're safe since the royal head inspector is here. Mokpung says he never would have done this if he knew he was here. And Wang Ya says that he's not one to hold grudges, so to free them all. Mokpung says before that he would like to ask a question, asking why he planned this revolution, asking if he really thinks that he wouldn't know he was here. Wang Ya asks what he's talking about, and Mokpung's men force him back onto the ground, saying that there's always a central figure to a revolution. He doesn't assume it was just some scholar, and it would make the most sense that it's him, a family member of the emperor. Wang Ya says that his arrogance knows no bounds, asking how dare he frame him, asking if he can avoid the consequences of his actions, and he will not let him get away with this. Mokpung says he seems to be misunderstanding something. He won't be able to report to His Majesty about this because he's never going to see him again. The punishment for revolution is execution. They will all die here tonight. As they've gotten the signatures of the revolutionaries, His Majesty will just think that it's obvious what went down here. Wang Ya yells, saying the heavens won't forgive them, and Mokpung tells him to keep begging and that there's someone who has to die first, and it's Yunji. He warned her, saying that he told her things would go his way. Thanks to her rejecting him, everyone's going to end up dead, asking if she really would like to reconsider changing her mind now. She spits in his face, saying that she'd rather die here than marry someone like him. He starts licking the spit off of his face. Holy, he needs to die now, and he starts grabbing her cheek, saying that he actually changed his mind. He won't kill her, he'll make it so that she thinks death will be a better outcome, and she can imagine the worst possible scenario. He will inflict pain upon her that is 100 times worse than whatever she can imagine. She says that she'll just bite off her own tongue and she won't allow that to happen. He says that if she kills herself, her father will be the only one to suffer. If her father also kills himself, then the rest of the people will suffer instead. And don't think it will end here. All of their family members will be the ones to suffer instead, and that everybody else will pay for the sins of those here. He tells her to go ahead and kill herself as he picks her up by her hair. He says he wouldn't mind having more people to entertain him anyways. Yuan yells for his daughter, and Mokpung says it's time for him to begin. Yunji begins shaking as she's begging for somebody to save them, saying it doesn't matter who it is. When she looks back up after opening them, she can't believe what the hell she's witnessing. As Yono is trying to sneak out, he jumps onto the wall and starts leaving, and she yells out for him. He freezes up and starts laughing nervously, and she asks what he's doing, and he says surely she could tell that he's booking it. She asks if he's kidding, and he says that he's excusing himself. She says that he should be helping, and he says he has a hard enough time to keep himself alive, and she said that he learned martial arts so he can help. He says that she's overestimating his skill level. The best choice in the situation is to act like he didn't see it. He tells Mokpung to keep doing whatever he's doing. Wang Ya, Yuan, and Yunji all in unison think he's a piece of, but Mokpung yells telling him to stop, saying that he's involved in the revolution. The entire world will be after him and he won't be safe anywhere. Yo says he can't be sure of that, and Mokpung says that the world may be big, but there are eyes everywhere, and it would not be difficult to find him.
Yo says to look for him later then, and Mugpung gets pissed, telling his men to go after him. One of the gimps charges with his sword ready, and Yoonji yells telling Yojo to get out of there. Yojo watches the blade and laughs, saying that first she was telling him to help, and now she wants him to run, wondering what he's meant to do. He dodges the attack as the guy realizes he attacked only an afterimage, and then Yonyo elbows him in the back of the head, sending him straight down into the wall, and he says that he really didn't want to do this. Yoonji is stunned, and Yono says she sure is a strange woman, as we see the dude actually went all the way through the floor below the wall. Yoonji and the rest just can't believe what they're witnessing, and Mugpung starts getting that crazy meat sweat, saying that he's not half bad. Young thanks him for the compliment, and Mugpung says he should not have taken it as one, as he was talking to himself, and Yan says that he was talking to himself too. Then he calls the first Gim, saying that he doesn't want to stand here any longer, asking how wonky he wants him to be humiliated for. Budget. Wolverine says that he'll eliminate him right away, and Mugpung says that he can't kill him. The man asks why, and Mugpung says that he'll kill himself. Wolverine starts walking towards Yanyo, and Yanyo tells him to wait. Wolverine asks why, and Yanyo says that he wants to use his sword, asking if he can wait a bit as he thinks it's in his room. Wolverine calls him insane, and Yanyo says that he seems pretty old, saying that he can't even let someone way younger than him get
sword, and that sure is crazy. Wolverine tells him to shut up, and Yono says the world wasn't such a cruel place 5 years ago. He spots a broom and picks it up. Wolverine gets annoyed, asking what he's doing, and Yanyo says that he'll have to make do somehow since he won't let him go grab his blade, so he'll make do with this. Wolverine asks if he's insulting him, and Yanyo says that if he's mad about this, then let him go get a sword. Wolverine says that he's not going to kill him, but he'll make him suffer so much that he'll wish he died instead, even if he's begging later on. Yanyo says that he's tired of all the yapping, saying that he should just get started because he's getting sleepy. This makes Wolverine's blood boil, and he charges at him, calling him a bastard. Right as he gets close, he raises up his sword, thrusting down towards Yono's eye. We see the broom come in, shattering Wolverine's helmet, hitting him in the head, sending him flying backwards in an instant. Wolverine asks what the hell that was as he lays down on the floor. Mugpung begins getting even more meat sweats, and Wangya and Yuan are in disbelief. Yanyo says that nothing is better than a broom when cleaning up garbage. That is Wolverine then wakes up after a bit and wonders what the hell that was. Yanyo says that he should be glad that's the extent of what he's going to do, as he would already be dead if they were fighting his master, asking why he would run straight at his enemy like that. Wolverine starts to get pissed and charges at him once more, and Yanyo starts beating him with the broom, saying that he's explaining right now. Wolverine says that he's way too fast. He can't even do anything about and distances himself. He says that he doesn't want to admit it, but he has two, and it's hard to believe, but he's got the skills to back up his mouth. However, it's not always the strong that wins battles, as he's got a lethal poison on his blade called the 7-Step Soul-Catching Serpent, and he's going to teach him that. Yanyo asks if he's really going to play dirty enough to use poison, and Wolverine says that he can blame him all he wants. Yanyo says that's not going to work on him, and Wolverine asks if he's immune to all poisons or something. Yanyo says it's not like he boiled and ate a whole ginseng root, and of course he's not immune, and it's a little bit different than that. He starts thinking about it before he leaves his afterimage, moving instantly right into Wolverine's face. Wolverine realizes what he meant as Yanyo knocks the dagger out of his hands. He rears back the broom, and Wolverine says he needs to stop him. Yanyo says surely he wasn't thinking of something like, I need to stop him, and he starts rapid-firing the broom, attacking all over. Wolverine can't do anything but get turned into an ugly-ass dummy as he is forced to take hit after hit after hit. Eventually, he starts bleeding from his nose and his mouth, and the spectators are in disbelief as he falls down onto the ground. It falls silent as nobody knows what to say, and Yanyo says this is why his master said that if you feel like your opponent is preparing something big, that he shouldn't wait and just beat them up instead. Mugpung says that he can't believe he defeated his man so easily, as his father spent decades of his own life perfecting Wolverine as the leader of Black Void. Yanyo says that it'll be convenient if they both just back off now. Mugpung claps his hands, and Yanyo asks what he's doing. Mugpung then smiles, saying, "That's amazing. For him to have that kind of martial prowess at that age sure is crazy." Yanyo says that he's right, and he starts getting embarrassed. Yoonji asks why he's happy, and Yanyo says that he's praising him. Mugpung thinks that Yanyo is a pushover now and says it's a shame that the First Darkness was unable to defeat him, but if he thinks about it from a different perspective, and it was all worth it because he met a real martial artist as talented as him, asking if he would like to work for him. Yuji yells asking what he's trying to do, and Mugpung says that if Yanyo comes to his side, he will give him things that he never even imagined having, and he will give him the power to rule over the world and immense wealth. Yanyo says that anyone who has an inkling of morals and ethics would never fall for such sweet words. Yoonji is so relieved that he's not doing it, but Yanyo says that he'll instantly fall for it if he starts talking about some money instead. Yoonji folds, telling him to go die, calling him a piece of If you've watched till the end, comment eloquent to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this. Leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.